Welcome to the final episode of How to Get Rich with John Cavendish. This time in ASMR. All right. If you're watching and you enjoyed that, please like and subscribe. We'll do more ASMR business content very, very soon. Very, very soon. Okay, so welcome to the final episode. Maybe there'll be a summary episode. I don't know. This is the main final episode of How to Get Rich. From the new studio. Moved house a few days ago. Surrounded by boxes. But yes, let's get into it. And today we are covering Amazon FBA. Interesting. So I saved this until last because this is something I've had the most experience in, both in the industry and as a seller. And I wanted to take some time to share about Amazon FBA. What's the good, the bad? Would we get into it? What's there? So my background in Amazon FBA, I started selling in 2015. Crazy. Started selling in 2015. From 2015 to 2019 was kind of the time I really sold. I think we did $5-6 million in revenue. At that time, I got so bored with it, which I'll tell you about later. I got into an agency space, built an agency, then I built Seller Candy, all inside this ecosystem. So Amazon FBA being the ecosystem and kind of a stepping stone. So we'll go into why the good things about that, the bad things about that, and how I transitioned out of it. So I'm going to have more of my story in this episode, as opposed to the usual just exploring business models that either I know about or I have friends doing. So I've built my own accounts. I think we had a supplement company, we had a weighted blanket company. I sold pet clippers. I sold hand exercisers. I sold all sorts of stuff on Amazon. We sold pillows. Yeah, with the blanket company, we also sold pillows. And pillows, I wouldn't recommend selling pillows, especially not ones that have to require a certain shape, because we got so many returns and ended up with a container full of returned pillows. Anyway, so back in 2015, 2016, this was like a big land grab. This is the time that people, when I was getting into it, everyone was like, it's too late. People already made the money, which is hilarious because now people are still making fortunes in Amazon FBA. So it's never too late, but the level of difficulty and the level of easy money changes. A rising tide brings up all boats, which is no longer a rising tide. So the easy time of Amazon FBA being a gold rush is over, but it doesn't mean you can't still make money there. I wouldn't put my easy money there anymore. So let's get into it. The rich scale. So we do this first. The last time we do this first this time. So speed to first dollar. This is not a super quick business. The FBA we're talking about is private label. Private label means that you find a market opportunity. So let's start again. If you are starting a normal product brand, you might start a brand around something that you have an idea about, that you are passionate about, that you have something to add. But when I'm talking about Amazon FBA in this way, it's kind of the reverse. In Amazon FBA, or what we were doing in the past, is we were looking for a market opportunity. So an underserved product category or product style on the Amazon marketplace. We then develop a product to fit that opportunity, and then we launch the product. That's the very simple 3-step process. The longer process is we find an opportunity, we figure out what are the issues with the competition, what price do we need to sell it at, how much do you think we can sell if we scale this thing up? If that works, we then look for a manufacturer in China that makes that stuff, but they just make generic versions. So we find them, we order a bunch of samples, we find the best one that we like, because these factories make generic versions for brands all over the world. Like most brands who make a whole suite of products don't design and build every single one of those products. They actually buy them from factories already made and they just slap their label on. So we find a good factory, find the one we like, we figure out the pricing, like can we get it for the right price? So if we need to sell this thing for $30 US, can we get it landed in America for say 10? Because that's what you need in order to cover distribution costs and make a profit. If that's correct, then we do some branding, get them to manufacture product for us, order the product, sell it, put it on Amazon, promote it, because Amazon is a momentum-based system. It's like build momentum. And then we're making money, in theory. So that speed to first dollar means, like, if I have a product idea Maybe I can get samples in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. If I'm finding different factories, ordering plenty of samples, maybe I can make a decision within the first month, place the order. Manufacturing time could be as low as a couple of weeks, could be as high as 4 months. Then I'm going to get it to the US. If you're selling in the US or Europe, that's anything from air freight 5 days to sea freight 1 month. And then we're live. So product ideation to product launch, if you're really fast, you might be able to do it in 3 months. Realistically, it could be 4 to 6 months or longer. So speed to first dollar is low, and that's the first dollar back of the money you've invested. So say you had $50,000 to put in, you spent 30 on your first order. They don't want to give you credit because it's your first order. Then you get your first dollar back in month 4 or 5. Then that money is still in the company because it still needs to go around for your next order. So you're really realistically, if the product's growing, you're not taking money out. Once the product's grown quite a bit and starting to plateau a bit, you might get money out after a year, year and a half. And all that time you're reinvesting the money back in. And that means to buy more inventory so you don't run out of stock. Because as I said, Amazon is a momentum-based system. So you're running around this circle just to get more inventory, more growth, more inventory, more growth. Startup cost. So interestingly, I did some AI research on this. It said startup cost low. I would say startup cost is medium to high compared to everything else we've done, where you can just put in your own time, effort, energy to make your first dollar. They're low. I would say startup cost for an FBA business is, you're talking 6, 7 out of 10. If SaaS in the old methodology of having to actually pay developers was a 9 out of 10, this would be a 6 or a 7. Skill. It's a skill set you can learn. This is not rocket science. This is just a step-by-step process. I would say skill level is not that high, but you do need the ability to separate yourself from the product and to see this as just a product, like an opportunity. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And if the numbers don't play out, it doesn't work. We don't want to get too attached to the product because we love the product and it's a cool product. If it doesn't work on the numbers, it's not going to work in reality. So skill is just to separate ourselves. Scalability, it's very scalable, especially if you get into the right niche. I've had friends who've gone from 0 to $1 million a month in 2.5 years. Or 0 to $1 million a year business, which is nice because say you're on 30% margin, that's making you $300,000 a year in 12 to 18 months. So that's pretty cool. I mean, there are other businesses. I mean, I've done that with an agency. I've done that with a service business. But it's cool to do it with this business because it's totally disconnected from your time. I mean, you still need to put a lot of time into new products, managing stuff, but there's no set working hours, or you're not delivering client work, which is good. Risk. I mean, risk is manageable. It's about managing risk. So if you're going to put $50,000 in, let's assume that you don't screw it up completely. You're going to get some of that money back, or maybe all that money back. But if you get it wrong, then you could be stuck a lot out of pocket. So for example, me and my friend Amin, we launched a weighted blanket company back in 2018, was it? A long time ago. 2017? Time flies. I think 2017. I think we went live in January 2018. And Amin was pushing me to launch blankets with him because he had a good traffic source back in the day. And ironically, his traffic source got banned just before we went live. Anyway, I was like, it's not going to work. It's too heavy. It's too bulky. And then 4 months later, I was like, okay, let's do it. So we ordered our first, did all the steps I told you about the start of this thing. We ordered our first container of weighted blankets. They came in something like January 5th, maybe, started getting checked in. And the timing was impeccable. We didn't realize this, but there was a big Kickstarter 6 months before, which is what had caused a lot of this interest. And they were failing to fulfill at the time we got in stock. So at that time, we got in stock January 5th, it must have been 2018. January 5th, 2018, something like that. And then 10 days later, we were like, we're going to run out of stock in 5 days. We sold $100,000 of blankets in 14, 15 days at amazing margins because we'd launched them at proper margins. We were like, wow, this is amazing. We've just made, 30, 40,000 profit. in 15 days, amazing. We're going to kill it with this business. Order more. So we go in, we order more. This is like quite a long cycle because these things weigh 20 pounds or that 9 kilos. They're bulky. They come in a container. So awesome. Let's order more, and order more. So quickly, within a couple of months, we got $250,000 in blankets, moving around the world trying to get these things. And we're out of stock for a while because of all this. And when we get back in stock, all the Chinese factories have come in. So rather than us selling at $200 a blanket, we got competitors selling like $100. And we go, oh, well, what are we going to do? So anyway, we do restock. We go around in circles. We spend ages, working on this, launching other products. We launched blankets. We did a Shopify store. And just the market was just destroyed. So over that time, after making loads of money in the first couple of weeks, very quickly, we were like, this isn't worth it. And I think within a year, we closed it down. Was it a year, 18 months? Was it 2 years? I don't know. I need to check with Amin. But yeah, we made maybe 80, 100 grand overall. And, for all of that effort, all of that work, we didn't build an asset that was sellable. We didn't cash out a bunch of money. So this is what I mean about that. When I'm saying about risk, yes, we got all our money back. We made some money, but for the amount of effort and risk capital that we had at any time, it wasn't a success whatsoever, really. It was cool, fun story. I don't think I've ever told that story before publicly. There's plenty of stories like that, but it was fun at the time. AI resilience. I mean, product businesses are AI resilient. You do need to keep up though with AI if you want to do marketing for your store. Time freedom is amazing. Ceiling is very high. If you can keep reinvesting and keep going. Lifestyle quality is, I think, good. I mean, I lived a great lifestyle while doing this. I had pretty much total time freedom. I had, multiple tens of thousands of dollars a month income, and I was traveling and living well. I always saved a lot of money, so I wasn't spending crazy money, but it was a good business, and we very quickly scaled to $1 million within 18 months of launch with my first supplement company. So that was great. And probability of success in this is a bit more difficult because you need to be a professional now. Like back in the day, you could find an opportunity, launch something, and you're going to make some money. Now, I would say that anyone who's not got the capital needs income within the next year and a half, and is not willing to double down on themselves or on the business when it's not going well. I wouldn't say this is a good first business, and maybe not even a good second business. It's somebody who wants a product company and all the headaches that come with having a product company. Good. So what does your day look like as an Amazon seller? Get up, surrounded by beautiful women. No, you're doing the doing. So you're monitoring your sales. So if you've disconnected yourself from it, which is very hard, you don't check your sales as soon as you wake up. But most people wake up, they check their sales, they check everything's not broken. They check in on team, they check in on profitability for the previous day. They then get into any customer service stuff. Very quickly you should be hiring a customer service person or a team, or outsourcing it to Zon Support or one of those agencies. Greg from Zon Support, go and check him out. So they go on, they do their customer service, they do their PPC, they move whatever's moving forward with the new products or the reorders. They check their order quantity, they check their inventory levels. And what I'm talking about, these are all things that can be pretty much automated or use software for. So inventory projection, yes, you have to do it once or twice. I mean, when we started 10 years ago, we had to use a spreadsheet, but now there's so many tools. Same thing for dashboarding and profitability for the previous day. There's a tool for that. PPC management, there's a tool for that. Dealing with Amazon, that's the worst bit. There's Seller Candy, my old company, for that. Once you've got a bunch of these small service providers and tools, that stuff's all automated. Then there's the admin side of running the business. So making sure you've done your accounts, making sure you've got your proper monthly P&L. And then there's dealing with new products. So reordering products and new products, like messaging suppliers, making sure things are actually moving forward. And those things can kind of also be outsourced, especially if you get yourself a good agency, but you'll be doing them a lot to start with. So professionalization in this business is data. Like a lot of these businesses become data. Private label and actually reselling, it's all data. So it's all about figuring out what you care about, what data points you care about, what you want on your daily dashboard, and how you choose a next product. Like some people think they're going really hard by launching a product a month, and then you meet someone else who's launching 50 products simultaneously because that's their different strategy. They just throw stuff at the board until something hits. Other people like to be more methodical. And all these things work. You just need the right strategy. You need to know that your strategy is going to be successful eventually. So numbers on a how does a product work? So let's use the example of a $30 product. I can do that. Numbers aren't ideal, but yeah, $40 product makes it easier. Amazon fees add up with fulfillment, processing, the stuff they do, which isn't advertising, because that's another fee, to around 25%. I think it's gone up a bit, 25 to 28%. So out of your $40 product, if it makes a sale at $40, $10 to $13 go to Amazon. Wow, Amazon make a lot of money. Okay. And you've already paid them already for receiving the product and some other stuff and storage and all this kind of stuff. So that's a little bit extra. Then you've got your advertising cost. So say it used to be we'd monitor ACOS, average cost of sale, which we still do on a product by product basis. But also on the account. So say your selling account, you might be monitoring TACOS, like total account ACOS, TACOS. And TACOS gives you more of a like overall number to hit on the account. So maybe your overall account TACOS, total account ACOS, is 15-20%. So at $40, that's $6 to $8. So that's another $6 to $8 gone, because that's money you're spending on advertising through the Amazon platform. So Amazon is also making that money. Then product cost. So that's the cost of sourcing. Well, so all these costs are one-off cost of sourcing ones, but the cost of manufacturing, labeling, packaging, transportation to your country of destination, whether that's US, Europe, wherever, import tax, duties, etc., until it gets into Amazon's FBA warehouse. So for that, I'd be aiming for max 30% of your sale price. So 30% of $40 is what, 12.50? Yeah, it's a $12.50. Someone who's better at mental maths than me. I used to be great. So that's $12.50. So we've got $20 taken off for Amazon PPC. We've got $12.50 taken off for the product cost. You're left with $7.50 profit on that, in that mental model. And $7.50 is what? Just under 20%. Yeah, so that's probably actually a realistic for a lot of sellers. Taking home under 20%. So every $40 sale, they make $7.50. That goes not into your pocket, but back into your company bank account so that you can order more. But what that means is if you've put in $40,000, for example, to make it easy numbers, same numbers, $40,000, and you've sold all of those products, you've made $750 on every sale. So now you have $47,500. But maybe your sales have increased. Maybe your sales, because you're launching, have gone up 50%. So that means your next order needs to be $60,000. But you've only taken out from the selling these products $47,500. So that means actually you're going to go into the hole for the next order for another difference of $12,500 you need to go to order again to increase your sales. So this is what people mean when they say that many businesses don't die because of non-profitability. They die because of running out of cash. And as you can see, if you're having that rapid growth, which you might for a new product, it's very quickly that it just eats more cash. Like on paper, I'm making $7,500, a month or whatever from this one product or this suite of products. I've got 5 of them. I'm making $30,000 a month, and they're all growing. So in order for them to grow, I need another, 12.5 for this product, 7 for this product. I need another 30 grand. Where do I get the money from? So this is when you get into needing cash. Where's it come from? Can you borrow it? Some of these guys are predatory lenders. They will take ridiculous percentages. They'll tell you, it's only 15%. And then it'll be, over a 4-month period, for example. So 15% over a 4-month period is what? I would say 45 taxes times 3, but it's not, because then it would compound at 15%, 15%, 15% if you wanted to borrow for a year. So really your rate's talking like 100% or something. So what's the aim with these products? There's two ways you can go with a product business. The way most people want to go with this is something they can sell. Why would someone buy this? I'll tell you in a minute. So what I mean by being able to sell is that eventually this is an asset that you can sell to somebody else. So when people are looking for an investment opportunity, they're looking for a return on their money. So say you put it in the bank. Back 5 years ago, what would you get your bank interest rate? Like nothing, 0.5%. What would you get if you put it into the stock market? Back then, I don't know, 10%. People always assume 8 to 10%, don't they? Even when there's been too high returns in the past. So what would you do for a company? Well, if you put your money into a company, on average, these type of companies sell between 2.5 and 4x the yearly profit. So what that means is, say it's 3x, it means that you're putting your money in, you actually get a 30% return on your money. So in theory, within 3 years, you have all your money back in a free company. When you sound it like that, it's like, why does anybody sell? But yeah, because you have to operate a company. But so you build this asset, but it's eating all the cash. So yes, when you get to steady state, it'll be shooting out money. But if you're growing, then you probably haven't seen too much of that money yet. You might be doing $1 million, $2 million, $3 million in sales and making 300,000 a year, but that 300,000 might have been going back in every year for new products and new growth. So maybe you maybe on paper making 3 million a year with 30% margin, $1 million a year. But in reality, what are you actually making? Like, you might have 400,000 in your bank account, but the company now, in theory, is worth $3 million because it's making $1 million on paper. So you can immediately turn that asset, that business, into $3 million cash, or more likely, $1.5 million cash and a bunch of debt and people owing you money. And then you're free to do the next thing. So that's why people buy and sell a business. Okay, so this is going to be a shorter episode because I have to go somewhere else after this. And I think I've done some interesting talking here. We'll see. Message me if you find this interesting and just breaking down how these type of business models work. If you've enjoyed this series and if you've got value out of it, I'd really like to talk to you. Like, what are you working on currently? What do you think is the opportunity? And what do you think is the biggest thing that you need to work through to get to that next level? Because at the end of the day, business is just like any other personal development activity. I've heard people say business is a spiritual process, but just like anything else, it's our hangups that hold us back and our frustrations and where we get stuck. So if I can help you in any way, I'd love to have a chat and figure out how to move on to the next level. So check out johncavendish.com. Check out my newsletter. I don't know how you join I think there's a newsletter. Sign up on my page. If not, message me and I'll send you a link to sign up for the newsletter, where I talk about what I'm reading at the moment, what insights I've had from nearly 500 hours of coaching sessions. I think next week we'll pass 500 hours for the last year. And yeah, I'm really, really excited to support, work together, and figure things out together. So thank you everyone for being on this series. We're going to do another series. I can't remember what it's called, but I'll tell you about it next time. And I might do a summary of all of these different models. And maybe we'll have an episode next week or the week after where I review all of these models and rank them. I need some pretty graphics. If anyone's good at pretty graphics, reach out to me and let's do some pretty graphics together. So anyway, appreciate all of you. Check out the website, johncavendish.com. DM me if you've enjoyed this series or watched 1 or 2 of the episodes. And I will see you all very, very soon. Goodbye.